Gratcast 153, flying solo. Believe we're underway here. Feels a little strange not having anybody to my right to talk to, but we're gonna wing this and see what happens. Andrea is on the job tonight. She's working. As we've built this company, the two of us have continued to juggle side jobs. A lot of times that's driving for Uber, Amazon, doing weed delivery services currently. But tonight, Andrea is on a union gig. She's been doing union crew work for a while now. And she got booked last night, worked all night long. Had to be right back there this morning. Been there all day today. Got to go back tomorrow. So she's grinding it out big time on the union set this week. Very proud of her, and very grateful that we have these opportunities for her to keep the boat afloat. A lot of the things that have happened with the company to get us to this position of the good news that happened today has been a lot of self-investing and putting all of our resources and even resources we don't have into the middle of the table here and setting things up so we could launch the public offering that launched today. I'm going to be talking about that a little bit more later in the show. Wyatt's checking in on the chat. Wyatt, thank you for joining the show. Talk a lot, but never really just kind of talk to myself here. So this is going to be a first-time experience for all of us. All right, moving on. So there was an article that I came across this week and really blends nicely in with everything that Gratwick is and what we're trying to do here, and a big reason why we're trying to do it. It was in the LA Times, and the headline was, "They came to LA to chase a Hollywood dream. 2 weeks later, they were homeless." And the article is really... It's about this young couple in their early 20s that came from Detroit to LA under the big promise, hopes, and dreams of what was going to be when they got here. But it's really more of a story about how this happens every day, all the time. And there's countless people that move to California, move to Los Angeles, big dreams, stars in their eyes. And the floor just falls out on them, and they end up being one of many, many homeless people wandering around the city. We've been close to that point in the past. And one of the eye-opening things about the article was it talks about how the reason they came here is because the guy, he's I think 23 or 24 years old. He was a musician, rapper, producer, made his own music in Detroit, and somehow, some way, he ended up mingling with somebody in the music industry from Los Angeles. And that person from Los Angeles did what every fake, phony person in Los Angeles does when they don't think they're ever going to get called on it. They make a bunch of empty pie-in-the-sky promises to come off as a real nice guy and don't expect it ever to go anywhere. So in this sense, he told the kid from Detroit, "Hey man, if you're ever in Los Angeles, look me up. I'll take care of you. I'll hook you up, and I'll set you up in the industry." So not even a few weeks later, this dude from Detroit and his girlfriend that he had been dating for less than a month pack all of their belongings into a backpack each, and they move to Los Angeles. And before they even get out of LAX, they call this guy up, let him know that they're here in LA, and the guy basically chokes back a laugh and tells him he's out of town for the foreseeable future. They're on their own. And within 2 weeks, they ended up living on the streets of LA. We're in and out of homeless shelters, and just really dealing with culture shock, being lied to, finding themselves in the streets, having no money, barely even knowing each other, and how the two of them have tried to scrape by to survive in LA ever since they unserendipitously ended up here. I know that's not the correct pronunciation of that word, but we're winging it. So my whole thing is, and we're going to talk about this. So tomorrow, Tuesday, we're going to have a special episode of the State of Mind podcast. David and I are going to be talking about Hollywood and a lot of the darker sides of Hollywood. So we're going to get into some of the stuff. I'm going to tiptoe around here right now. We're going to get into a lot more of that stuff tomorrow. But the part I want to touch on here today is the entire machine is set up to sell this idea of California dreaming. You're gonna run off to Hollywood and be a big star. They sell this lottery ticket mindset of, if you come to LA, all your hopes and dreams are gonna come true. You're the one in a million, and they do this to lure the youth from literally all across the world to come here to LA, and then they pit them against each other, and say, hey, there's a million of you. There's going to be a million more of you tomorrow. If you're not going to do it, somebody else will. And this is how they're able to prey on people with impunity. Because there's no checks and balances. There's no leverage. It's a controlled access point where if you want access, you have to do whatever the controller says or requests. And if you don't, they'll give access to the next person. And the disgusting part of it is, rarely is the access even guaranteed, even if you partake and deal in their debauchery. And that's where the slippery slope really comes in, where there's no guarantee that you're even going to get the promises that are promised of you. So we're going to talk a lot more about where that kind of slippery slope leads and how that's really the power paradigm for all the predatory behavior that goes on in the entertainment industry. It all starts from this: just attract as much of the world's youth here as possible, and then use and abuse them. Who's going to do anything about it? There's more showing up tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow, State of Mind TV. David and I are going to be talking a lot about what's happening. David, I see that you're in the chat here. You missed the first 2 minutes of the show where I explained I'm flying totally solo tonight. I don't even have a dude off camera to throw me up some little Chris's or something in the dead spots here. I just got to freaking plow through it. But yeah, Andrea's doing the union job. She's basically working 3 days straight, double shifts, all the way through Tuesday. So you stuck with just me tonight, David. All right, moving on. Big announcement today. Probably should have some sound effects for this, but I don't. The StartEngine campaign officially launched today. It's off the ground. It's finally there. We can finally point people to the link and tell them, hey, check out what we've been doing for the last 10 years. Check out what we've been building here, and what the thought is behind this, and what the logistics are, what we've put in place to get this thing set up on a tee, so that the only thing that's missing right now is an audience, is a following, is people that want to see that final nail be driven into Hollywood's coffin. And where that nail is going to come from is a new business model, a new way of doing business that's 100% transparent and 100% accountable to the shareholders that make up the ownership of the company. And this shareholder group, it's not going to be a bunch of rich assholes starting another production company and getting their agenda out there and selling censorship to China. This is going to be an audience and artist-owned studio system. Now, I can't get into the specifics of the actual offering and how you can invest in the company and all of that. That stuff has to be done on the campaign page. But if you go to gratwickproductions.com, it'll take you right to the campaign page on StartEngine. And you can find out exactly what we're doing here with this company and why it needs to be. The investors need to come from the public. It can't come from an already corrupted, high-revenue investment source. It needs to come from individuals that are going to be involved, be engaged, and hold the company accountable. Beth, thanks for checking in. Love that you share the show every single week. You got just me. Unfortunately, Andrea's on set, so I'm carrying the show over today. And I gave some thought to having a remote guest on, or asking David or possibly Joe or somebody to sit in Andrea's absence today. But I actually really thought about it and realized it's probably better that I just do the show myself tonight and have a chance to talk about what's happening, what the campaign is, and why it's taken so long to get off the ground. Now, like I said, We both work side gigs here while we're building this company. That unfortunately takes away time and opportunities from being able to build the company and follow up on all the opportunities that are available to at this point in time. We've got to balance our time, pick and choose appropriately on what the lowest hanging fruit is to attack here, and that's required a lot of time and resources to go into this company just to get it to this point. The campaign is just stage one. It's the early adopters, the family and friends, the people that we can reach through word of mouth that we're asking to buy in at this point and own a piece of the company, so we can take that next step in the growth process, which is reaching a wider audience. And to reach the mainstream demographics and the general public, we need an advertising budget. We need a marketing budget. We need to be able to expand how we're actually spending money and reaching people, and that's what this first campaign is about. Get the company off the ground. Get people to buy into it and understand we're all on the same team here. We're all working together towards the same common goal. Let's give the artists and the audience a pure form of entertainment that's not censored, that's not corrupted, that's not serving somebody else's agenda. Let's just let the storytellers tell the stories that they want to tell. Now, where I started all of this was talking about how Hollywood is really set up to lure the world's youth right here to Los Angeles, where they're vulnerable, they're desperate, they think that everyone else is doing something that they're not doing, so they're completely vulnerable and susceptible to being preyed upon. What is at the heart of Gratwick is creating a community-owned infrastructure that can be replicated in many communities from coast to coast in this country and hopefully someday internationally. And what it's, in the simplest sense, to really get the idea across, it's providing that professional studio support system in a transparent, ethical manner to the local artists before they ever feel like they've got to run off to Hollywood to chase the big time, before they have to go to La La Land to find their opportunity because their hometown isn't built to support artists. There's not a lot of opportunities there, and they're actually more vulnerable staying in a small community of filmmakers that don't pay and don't have the type of opportunities that maybe their talent demands than they are going to the big Shark Tank and trying to survive there. So what our goal with Gratwick is to find this elite talent in each community, provide them an ethical infrastructure, and support them in their hometown so they don't ever have to leave. Because this has a twofold benefit. Actually, many layers of benefit. The twofold comes from the fact that not only does the artist get supported in their hometown and they're able to create and produce top-tier content without leaving their backyard, but it gives everybody else in that community more opportunities as well. So, perfect example, we're trying to start all of this in Buffalo, prove that it can work and it can exist in Buffalo, then replicate it out across the country in film markets like Austin, Texas, San Francisco, Portland. All of these places that we all know is full of creative people, but they don't have the points of access. Finance, marketing, and distribution. If you got to go to somebody else to get your financing, you can only make what they say yes to. And there's a lot of content and there's a lot of stories that somebody with a lot of money isn't going to have an interest or isn't going to match their agenda on getting those stories told. What happens to those right now? Either they get done in some Mickey Mouse cardboard cutout sense on a super micro budget level and never have an advertising budget for anyone to know it exists, or it doesn't get made because these type of creators are stuck waiting for somebody else to say yes. Then on the marketing and distribution sides, those bring their own perils and predatory behavior, where it's common terminology to say Hollywood math. And what Hollywood math is, it's the art of each one of these third-party entities that stands between you and your royalty checks, skimming and cooking their books and creating a different amount of books to say that they've got more expenses and more losses than they actually do, so they can take your profits. And everybody does that all the way down the waterfall chain, and it's just understood. This is a type of skimming and flat out stealing from each other that can be eliminated completely by having a blockchain distribution system. which is one of the things at the foundation of what we're trying to build with this company, is the content that we help produce, the content that we help finance, the content that we help get out there. We're going to distribute it through a process that allows the revenue streams to go directly to the people that the money's owed to, at the point of sale. This is something that's never been done before. It's absolutely possible for it to be done right now, but there's no benefit to the entertainment industry to implement that type of workflow, that type of cash flow, because the amount of companies that offer nothing but controlled access that would go bankrupt or fall by the wayside, it's half the industry. So they're not rushing to adopt more efficient plans and more efficient money management processes with the emerging technologies that are available, because it completely is counterproductive to how they maintain their power and their existence in this town. So, if we can get to the youth before they have to come to Hollywood, work with the community to support their local artists, it creates more opportunities for crew, creates more opportunities for actors, it creates more opportunities for the businesses that service and provide equipment, labor, material, all of these different sub-industries that exist off of an entertainment production, or even better, a full-service studio. All of these elements have an opportunity to flourish more in their natural environments than having to hope that Hollywood comes to town and brings a bunch of money with them, or that the talent runs off to Los Angeles, becomes a big famous star, and decides to be a philanthropist for their hometown. Newsflash, most people don't, because they're usually so jaded that they had to run off to Hollywood to succeed on their own, and